सब जगह मंजुल भटक कर ली शरण अब आपकी। सब जगह मंजुल भटक कर ली शरण अब आपकी। पार करना या न करना दोनों मर्जी आपकी। पार करना या न करना दोनों मर्जी आपकी। हे मेरे गुरुदेव करुणा सिंधु करुणा कीजिए। हूँ अधम आधीन शरण अब शरण में लीजिए। ओम मंगलम ओमकार मंगलम गुरु मंगलम गुरुपाद मंगलम। ओम मंगलम ओमकार मंगलम ओम मंगलम ओमकार मंगलम गुरु मंगलम गुरुपाद मंगलम। 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 गुरु गोविंद दोनों खड़े काके लागो पार। गुरु गोविंद दोनों खड़े काके लागो पार। बलिहारी गुरु आपने गोविंद दियो बता। बलिहारी गुरु आपने गोविंद दियो बताए। ओम मंगलम ओमकार मंगलम गुरु मंगलम गुरुपाद मंगलम। ओम मंगलम ओमकार मंगलम गुरु मंगलम गुरुपाद मंगलम। गुरु बिन भव निधि तरई न कोई। गुरु बिन भव निधि तरई न कोई। जो बिरंची शंकर सम होए। जो बिरंची शंकर सम होए। ओम मंगलम ओमकार मंगलम गुरु मंगलम गुरुपाद मंगलम। ओम मंगलम ओमकार मंगलम गुरु मंगलम गुरुपाद मंगलम। रहे मन धागा प्रेम का, मत तोड़ो चटका। रहे मन धागा प्रेम का, मत तोड़ो चटका। टूटे से फिर ना जुड़े, जुड़े गांठ पड़ जा। टूटे से फिर ना जुड़े, जुड़े गांठ पड़ जाए। ओम मंगलम ओमकार मंगलम, गुरु मंगलम गुरुपाद मंगलम। ओम मंगलम ओमकार मंगलम, गुरु मंगलम गुरुपाद मंगलम। आए हैं सो जाएंगे, राजा रंक फकीर। आए हैं सो जाएंगे, राजा रंक फकीर। आए हैं सो जाएंगे, राजा रंक फकीर। एक सिंहासन चढ़ी चले, एक बंधे जंजीर। एक सिंहासन चढ़ी चले, एक बंधे जंजीर। ओम मंगलम ओमकार मंगलम, गुरु मंगलम गुरुपाद मंगलम। ओम मंगलम ओमकार मंगलम, गुरु मंगलम गुरुपाद मंगलम। कागा सब तन खाइयो, चुन चुन खाइयो माँ। कागा 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 सब तन खाइयो, चुन चुन खाइयो मांस। दो नैना मत खाइयो, मेरे गुरु मिलन की आस। दो नैना मत खाइयो, मोहे गुरु देखन की आस। ओम मंगलम ओमकार मंगलम, गुरु मंगलम गुरुपाद मंगलम। ओम मंगलम ओमकार मंगलम, गुरु मंगलम गुरुपाद मंगलम। गुरु मंगलम गुरुपाद मंगलम, गुरु मंगलम गुरुपाद मंगलम। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति।
Welcome to Satsang. Let's start with a few minutes of meditation together. allow yourself to find a position that's comfortable and stable, but not rigid. Comfortable enough you can sit without changing, and straight enough that the spine is held straight and strong, and the breath can flow easily and smoothly. Draw the awareness to your breath. Not in your rib cage or chest, but draw the awareness of your breath low in your abdomen. Find the place about 2 inches below your belly button. About 2 inches below the navel. It's a place called the Swadhisthana chakra. Draw the awareness there and allow the breath to flow in and out smoothly from that energy center. As you inhale, feel the energy of that center expand. And as you exhale, allow yourself to drop deeply into the core of your being. Taking the inhalations and exhalations from that Swadhisthana chakra. Allowing yourself to connect with the energy at the core of the being. On the next inhalation, instead of inhaling as though you were filling the abdomen, instead of that, on the inhalation, allow the breath to rise through the being. So it begins with an inhalation from the Swadhisthana chakra, below the navel. But instead of filling it horizontally, the breath rises vertically through the being, rising up through the solar plexus, through the rib cage and lungs, through the throat, and ultimately up to the third eye center, the Agya chakra. And exhaling, dropping back down from the third eye center, from the Agya chakra, back down into the Swadhisthana chakra. Take the inhalations and exhalations like that, allowing the breath to rise higher and higher on the inhalations. And if you can't get it all the way to the third eye, on one unbroken, smooth inhalation, don't worry. Just take it as high as you can, and then let it drop back down. And on the exhalations, drop as deeply as you can, down into the core of the being. Rising higher and higher on each inhalation, feeling that energy, that breath rise up through the being on the inhalation. And dropping deeply, deeper and deeper into the core of the self on the exhalation. Slowly palms of your hands together at chest level. Rub them gently against each other. Press the palms of your hands into your closed eyes. Slowly open your eyes and lower your hands. So we begin as usual with one of our questions that's come in advance, and then open it up to any questions that anyone who's here may have. I live in a very small town with very traditional values. Work, marry, have kids, go to school, grow old, and die. Every day is a constant reinforcement of that paradigm. How do we transcend this societal programming to stay on our path? How do we not buy into the fear that we'll lose everything if we don't conform? So sadly, this is not just the small town, traditional town situation. This is pretty much welcome to most of today. They're traditionally Western values. They're not so much traditionally Eastern values or particularly Indian values. But nonetheless, these days, as India gets more and more impacted by the West, we're getting even more and more of these values here as well. There's a reason that the lotus is considered the flower symbol for so much of the spiritual path. The lotus is the symbol of so much. You know, you think about yoga asanas, even just the science of yoga. And of course we have Padmasana, the asana of the lotus. I was just thinking, we don't have like geranium asanas or... I mean, geraniums are great flowers. Nothing wrong with a geranium. Wonderful. We use them for so many different things. We don't even have a rose asana or a jasmine asana. Again, gorgeous flowers. But when you think about spiritual terminology, when you think about spiritual offerings, the lotus is really the symbol. And the reason for that is the lotus flower grows in the muck, in the dirt, in the mud. But it stays absolutely untouched by it. And as we look at that symbol, it gives us a message for our lives. Another beautiful Indian symbol, the cow. Right? So, even though you're now in beautiful Rishikesh, if you flew into India from abroad, you flew probably through Delhi, maybe Mumbai, but in most cases, if you're here, you flew through Delhi. So you drive down the streets of Delhi, and in the midst of insane traffic, not only going in two directions, but going in every direction, Lanes, no lanes, sidewalk, no sidewalk, traffic light, no traffic. I mean, totally irrelevant. Traffic going in every situation. Horns honking, all kinds of noise. Insanity. And the cow is just lying in the middle of the road. Now here's the thing. Cows are not stupid animals. The cows actually have a very well-developed nervous system. Cows are capable of all sorts of, we don't know how to classify their feelings, but cows are definitely a higher species. We're not talking about an earthworm. So she's not stupid. She's not deaf. She's not blind, right? I mean, if she couldn't see or hear, then the traffic would be irrelevant, but she can. They've got good sight, good hearing. She's not asleep. It's not like kids who can just fall asleep anywhere. She's awake, but in this extraordinary state of peace, in the midst of utter insanity. Now, the cow is worshipped, of course, for other reasons that I'm not going to go into now. But for me, the cow really is this symbol of spiritual perfection. Because it's not that she says, oh, get me the hell out of here. I've got to go be in a cave and then I will be peaceful. Right? It's not that the cow treks from Delhi to Rishikesh because, oh my God, I've got to get out of the insanity. But it's also not that the cow in the middle of the street starts flipping out. Right? She's present, she's there, she's awake, she's intelligent, and very peaceful. And I share these two examples, the lotus and the cow, because whether you live in a small town or a big city, the pervading culture these days is the same as we have described so aptly here. Work, marry, have kids, go to school, grow old, and die. And of course, they left out the part of make more money than the guy who lives next door to you, look better than everybody on your street, right? You know, become the top. But this is all part of that. And regardless of where we live, this is the pervading culture. Now, the cow and the lotus both give us beautiful examples. Yes, you're always welcome here. You're always welcome here in Rishikesh. Here at Parmarth, we have about 1,000 rooms. You're always welcome to one of them. But moving and being here permanently, while a very fortunate opportunity for a small handful of us, chances are isn't going to be the life path that most of you are going to choose. It's not going to be the life path that is most of your dharma. And the option is not either buy into everything or I have to escape it and find my cave. I can live in that and stay grounded in my truth. And the lotus and the cow are these two beautiful, beautiful examples of it to take home from India. But even more than that, when you give in to something that you know isn't true, whether it's a cultural belief or whether it's simply peer pressure that says, oh, have one, what's the big deal? Come on, try it, it's fun, everybody's doing it, it's okay, whatever it may be. How does it feel? How does it feel at the end of the day when you lie down to go to sleep? Bless you. How do we feel about that? We get in the shower and we're alone. How does it feel when we've given into something that isn't us? What does that feel like? Does it feel good? Does it feel good to anyone? So it's interesting. I ask this because it's this very interesting irony. It doesn't feel good to any of us. It feels good on a very superficial level, very temporarily, because at least that pressure of the moment of people saying, just do it, just do it, just do it, is over. But it's a split second. And then we've got the internal voices going, what am I doing, what am I doing, what am I doing, what am I doing, what did I do, what did I do, what did I do, what did I do? And it's miserable. And this is where mindfulness and consciousness is so important. I'm not here to tell you what the right choice for your life is. I'm not here to tell you these are the values you should have. This is what should be important to you. What I'm here simply to do is remind you, inside of you, you know. You know what it feels like when you are moving through the world from your truth. You know what it feels like when there is a spaciousness within the self that comes when I'm living in absolute truth with who I am. And you know what it feels like when you don't. And the choice for every one of us is, and how long are we going to keep engaging in this drama of what life is not about? Now, there is nothing wrong with getting a good education, getting married, having kids, having a wonderful job, making money, having a house, and dying. Of course, we all die anyway. So that's sort of the non-negotiable part of the package. There's nothing wrong with any of that. The only dilemma is when we think that that is the point. There's my favorite example on this is of the study that was done in a wonderful psychology study where they took a bunch of subjects, means university students, graduate school students, smart kids, well-balanced, healthy kids. And it matters because they always have to make sure that their subjects are, mentally stable and intelligent and at a good place in their lives. And so they give all the subjects a test. And the test is, and this is true, by the way, you can go home and look it up. The test is they have to watch a basketball game. But it was very short, not a full basketball game. 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 4 minutes, something like that, basketball game. Very short. And their only task that they're told is, count the number of baskets each team makes. So at the end of their video, they're given a quiz. How many baskets did the white team make? Fill in the blank. How many baskets did the red team make? Fill in the blank. Now, most of the students got both of those answers 100% correct. Basketball is a much easier game to follow than, for example, football, or American football at least, where you have no idea where the ball is. At least in basketball, you can pretty much follow, like which side of the court they're on, did it go through the hoop. So the subjects got both of them right. The third question, which as it turns out, of course, was the whole point of the study, said, and did you notice anything else? Now it turns out that halfway through the basketball game, this enormous gorilla came onto the middle of the basketball court and proceeded to dance center court, center screen for the camera for 30 seconds, and then exited the court. More than 50% of the subjects said, no, they didn't notice anything else. Now, explain to me how it is possible. Their eyes were open because they got the baskets right. It wasn't like they fell asleep. They didn't sneeze and miss it. They clearly were paying attention. They got the baskets right. How did they miss the dancing gorilla? Simply because it's not what they were told to look for. Very simple. Because if in the beginning the researchers said, but by the way, keep your eyes open, something else is going to happen. Make sure you don't miss it. No one missed it. It all has to do with what we are told to do. So these subjects were told, count the baskets. They did it. They did it successfully. They did it well. Most of them got 100%. But nobody ever said, by the way, this isn't the point. By the way, this is all a trick. Actually, it's all about that something else. Actually, the whole point of this study is to see if you notice something else. When we're not told that, most of us miss it. And this is what happens in life. We are told at a young age, get a good education, get a job, make a lot of money, marry, have kids. And very few of us are blessed to be told by parents, by teachers, by someone, by the way, this isn't what it's about. By the way, make sure you don't miss it. We're not told. And so we go through our lives very obediently. We get our educations, we get our jobs, we have our families, our children are well bathed and well behaved and well dressed, and they go to school and we make money, we go from a small house to a bigger house, from a used car to a new car to 3 new cars. And at some point in our life, tragically for most of us, it's much, much, much later in life. This little voice in our head starts to say, and did you notice anything else? Is this what it was all about? Was there something else? Did I miss something? Because this isn't what it's about. So if that's your dharma, do it. If it's not your dharma, don't do it. But either way, that's not what it's about. It's not about either doing it or not doing it. It's about realizing that that's not what it's all about. It's about waking up. It's about knowing who you are. And so whether who you are is putting on the costume of mother or father or wife or husband or CEO or mailman, fine. If who you are is putting on the costume of naked meditator in a cave, fine. But either way, It's not who you are. It's about going within. Because simply taking off all your clothes and growing your hair and living in a cave doesn't sadly give us automatic enlightenment. It helps. I mean, it helps if we're going to meditate. Obviously, it's a lot easier if we close our eyes, if we're in a quiet space, if ants aren't crawling all over us or people jumping all over us or sitting in our lap or crawling on our head. It's easier. It's easier not to get distracted by sights and sounds and sensations. It's easier if someone's not taking freshly baked chocolate chip cookies and running them under our nose as we're trying to meditate. But we still have to go within. Simply having your eyes closed and being in a quiet place and not having ants or children crawling all over you and not having chocolate chip cookies under your nose doesn't mean instant enlightenment. Those of us who meditate know. It's work. The mind wanders, you bring it back. It wanders, you bring it back. It plays all sorts of games, you watch them, you bring it back. And the same way in life. We all play different roles at different times, no problem. But we have to realize throughout all of it, this isn't what it's about. And so we stay anchored and grounded and asking ourselves every moment, am I missing it? Am I missing it? Am I missing it? Because every moment is the opportunity. Am I missing it? Am I fully here? Fully here, not just here with what colors the carpet, here with what colors the walls, here with exactly what I'm saying, but am I fully here with myself, with my true self? Am I here in this moment, aware that I have a body, that the body is in a certain position, but I'm not the body? Aware that I have this thing called a brain and there's some activity going on in it, some chemical activity, some electrical activity. Some of it we'll call listening. Some of it we'll call thinking. Some of it we'll call judging. Some of it we'll just call keeping the body erect. Voluntary, involuntary. All sorts of activity going on. But I'm not the brain or its activity any more than I'm the body or its activity. And am I able in this moment, being here, wherever I am in this moment, to be aware, to grab this moment, to wake up? Because it's always about this moment. And you don't want to lose it. Because in the next moment then, it's always about that moment. So regardless of where you live or what you do, make sure you don't miss it. And all it requires is some logistic arrangement. Meaning, just because somebody invites you somewhere doesn't mean you have to go. If you want to go, by all means go. Again, nothing wrong with going to a party, going for coffee or tea with friends, nothing wrong with it. But when you understand what your priorities are, you're going to start making decisions in line with them. Otherwise, we feel like ping pong balls. An invitation comes, we have to go. Somebody says come, we have to go. Somebody says drink, we drink. They say eat, we eat. They say watch this, we watch it. They say listen to me, we listen to them. They say, wear this, we wear it. Buy this, we buy it. We have to take back the control. It's the only thing we have control over. I have no control over anything outside of me. And if I relinquish control of everything in me, then I've given it all up. I have to at least have the control of that which is in me. My thoughts, my activities, where I go, what I watch, what I listen to, what I read. Because that's what makes who I am. We know that if I eat junk food, I'm going to get a stomachache. Eventually I'll get fat. I'll have high blood pressure. I'll have high cholesterol. I'll have diabetes. I mean, we know how that goes. Eat enough junk food for long enough and the body develops accordingly. The same thing is true with the rest of what we eat. Eat enough gossip. Eat enough negativity, enough judgment, enough condemnation, enough materialism. Well, so the mind gets formed accordingly. That's how our minds get formed, the same way that our bodies get formed by what we eat physically. And so we have to take back those reins and say, just like I take care of my body, I need to take care of my mind. The body is our medium, our tool for being here on planet Earth. It's our tool for awakening. And the mind is that which we use to make it happen. Because if I cultivate a mind that says, hit the snooze button, no need to get up, well then there goes my meditation. If I cultivate the mind that says, oh, I know, let's just, watch pornography till 2 a.m, well, there goes my evening meditation. There goes my sattvic sleep. There goes my possibility of getting up in the morning. And so you have to be really careful about what we cultivate in the mind. Because even though it isn't us, it's the medium through which we experience who we are. So regardless of where in the world you're sitting, as Pujya Swamiji always says, the caves or California, either way, or anywhere else in between, the mind is the same. And you've got just as much power over it wherever you are. Just as much power over the body. Your choices, your mind, it's your life. Because at the end of the day, if you realize you've missed it, it's not very soothing to be able to say to yourself, well, it's not my fault, I lived in a small town and they told me this and this one did that. I mean, it doesn't make you feel any better. So at least right now, while there's still time, rather than giving in to excuses, realize this is what you've got. Pay attention to it. And step up to that plate. Make those choices. Make those decisions. Make sure that what you do is in alignment with who you are, with every breath, with being a tool in God's hands. Then it doesn't matter where you are. It could be in the smallest town, in the biggest city. Because of course our scriptures are filled with beautiful stories of people from little small towns, enlightened rishis. Big cities, enlightened rishis. Horrible demons. Small towns, forests, big cities. Totally irrelevant. What matters is us. And you're there wherever you go. And you're here right now. So, before taking any of the other questions that came in advance, happy to take any questions that are here. Yeah, and then you.
You talked about one is heart talking and one is ego wearing the mask of heart and talking. So how can we find that who is talking?
So last night we were talking about the ego and the ego masquerading as different things. And he said, how do you know if it's really your heart that's opening or the ego that's playing the game of the heart opening? If the heart is really opening, then the connection with the world expands. Then you start to see yourself in others. Then it's no longer about me or you. There's a oneness. And suddenly what that starts to look like in your life is, I'm ready to give more, serve more. A, because there's no longer any border between you and me. Serving you is serving you. And B, because there's no longer anything I need. When my heart is open, I'm full. I'm overflowing. When it's the ego, it's all about me. The ego opening the heart looks something like, I am the master of the open heart. Bring me my tea. I am the master of the open heart. Bow at my feet, right? Now, it may not be specifically bow at my feet in your case, but it's going to be something very similar depending on what your life looks like. It's the I am the master of whatever I'm pretending to be the master of, and that makes me different than you, higher than you, better than you, separate from you. Look how open my heart is. That's how you can tell I'm an enlightened master. Yeah, come on, give me your money. Right? That's what the ego looks like. That's what illusion looks like. That's what falsehood looks like. When it's really the open heart, it's, wow, I love you. Come, let me feed you. What can I give you? How can I serve you? One of the most beautiful experiences is watching two masters, two really enlightened beings, be in each other's presence. Because what you see is, all they want to do is serve each other. Two fake spiritual beings, two actual ego hearts opened. It's all about, get out of my way, like this is my space. This is, when the heart is really opened, it's extraordinary. I remember in 1999, 20 years ago now, in Cape Town, South Africa, was the Parliament of World Religions. And it was the concluding day, and thousands of religious leaders had come. His Holiness the Dalai Lama was about to get on the stage to speak. And during the parliament, which had lasted for maybe 4, 5, 6 days, thousands of religious leaders from around the world had all spoken in different sessions. But in the concluding ceremony, they had handpicked a very small number of them to be on the stage for the concluding ceremony to offer concluding blessings with His Holiness. So Pujya Swamiji was one of those selected. So he's sitting in the front row in a chair. And while he's up there, he notices in the audience was this other incredible divine master of India who sadly has since left his body. But he was supposed to have left the day before. We thought he was leaving. He hadn't left. He was there. Pujya Swamiji sees him sitting in the audience, and he calls me to him. And he says, Dada is there in the audience. Bring him on stage. So I bring him on stage. Now, chairs are all taken. Security's there. His Holiness the Dalai Lama is about to walk on stage. There's 10,000 people in the audience. It's on live TV. This is a massive event. Dada's walking on stage, and of course there is no chair. So Pujya Swamiji stands up to give him his chair. Now, Pujya Swamiji just turned 67, so at the time he was 47. Dadaji just passed away at almost 100, so at the time he was 80. So Pujya Swamiji was younger and stronger, but nonetheless, Dada was still very strong. So Pujya Swamiji stands up to give Dada his chair. Dada will have nothing to do with it, and the two of them, and you have to just picture this, 10,000 people in the audience, Dalai Lama's security in full-on police garb, standing, lining, everything. 3 rows of religious leaders on the stage. Front row, chair, 2 leaders have their arms on each other's shoulders, both standing, trying to push each other into the chair. Now, Swamiji wins. He's younger, stronger, pushes Dada into the chair, but Dada was very smart, and he had his hands around Swamiji's waist and pulls Swamiji down into the chair on his lap. Fortunately, by this point, the organizers had understood what was going on and managed another chair right next to it. So about 5 seconds before His Holiness the Dalai Lama walks on the stage, we actually got each of them in a chair next to each other. But I share the story because that's what it looks like. When it's real and not ego, that's what it looks like. When it's ego, it's, well, of course I'm the one on the stage. They've chosen me. I must be the right one. I must be the enlightened one. Okay, you can watch me from the audience. I mean, if you're enlightened, why would it matter to you anyway, right? You see how cunning the ego is? The ego plays all kinds of games. So that's the difference between what they look like. So if you find that from inside the urge is to give more, serve more, be more humble. Not because you are the most humble guy around and you're waiting for somebody to pin that on you, but just because of the joy and the truth of humility, then it's real. But if it's, my heart is opened, therefore I am the enlightened one, I'm the master, ready to start collecting disciples, that's when you know it's ego and delusion. Yes. And we'll take this as the last question tonight. Yeah.
My question is that every human wants to be better.
I'm sorry?
Every human wants to be better. They have a very good intention behind things that they do. So how do we cultivate this intention to actions, towards action?
So this is a really interesting question. He said, humans have good intentions. How do we translate intentions into actions? Well, let me ask you something. Okay? Whose intention is it? Let's say, think of some intention of yours that you have that's a good intention, but that doesn't translate into action. Okay? Can you share it with me? Okay, what is it?
I'm a surgeon,
Okay.
and there are many people right now in India who are not practicing actually I'm a dental surgeon,
Okay.
and not many people are practicing dentistry because it's not such a good field right now in India. So I have a business plan and I'm trying to get that plan into gears. But the thing is that those people are not really helping.
Okay. So this is slightly different than what I thought you were asking. So I'm glad I asked the example. This is an intention that you have, but a manifestation that is in someone else's hands. That we can never make happen. I have an intention that you should do something differently. Never happen. The only intentions that we can ever bring into action are for ourselves. Otherwise, I can come with a lot of great plans. I know you're a dental surgeon. Here's what you should do. Well, that's my intention. It may not be your intention. And your actions are only going to be determined by your intentions. But a more interesting question is a expansion from that is, when we have intentions ourselves, they also frequently don't translate into actions. And that has to do more with the parts of us that keep us from acting on it, our fears, our laziness, that voice in our head that says you're too young, you're too old, you're too poor, you're too stupid, you're not smart enough or good enough, worthy enough. Who are you to make this happen? And so the only way to actually manifest intentions is to walk your path through all of those distractions. Not to listen to those. To realize that they are just voices that are there to distract you, there to harass you. But you keep walking your path. If it's something you can manifest. But if it's something you're expecting others to manifest, try. Nothing wrong in trying, that's wonderful. But don't allow yourself to get frustrated at what other people don't do. Or you'll spend your whole life frustrated. Instead, figure out, what can I do? I can make a plan. At least some people will come along with me. At least I can do as much dental surgery as I can do. If not 1,000, if not even 100, maybe I can get 10 together. Maybe that 10 slowly becomes 100. Slowly, 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 things grow. But at least make sure that what you're intending for yourself, that you manifest that. Otherwise, you develop this sanskara, this belief of the self, that's very dangerous. And it's a belief that says, I don't actually manifest my intentions. And that's a very dangerous belief to have. It's better never to have an intention than to have an intention and let your fear, your laziness, your sense of not good enoughness talk you out of it. Because then you get this pattern that says, yeah, I'm one of those people who doesn't make things happen. And that's probably the most dangerous self-identity that you can have. So you want to make sure, be careful what you intend, but if you intend it, do it. So if you know there is not a chance in 1,000,000,000 years you're getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, don't take a vow that you're going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. You're just setting yourself up for failure. If you're used to getting up at 7, set an alarm for 6:30. That you can do. Then set it for 6:15 the next week. Then set it for 6 the week after. But if you know there is no way in 1,000,000,000 years, even if I had to catch a flight, I couldn't get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, don't set the intention. Because then it just damages how you think about yourself. And it gives you the permission in every other area of your life not to do what you intend to do. So only make intentions, commitments to yourself that are about this much more than you think you can comfortably do. Stretch yourself. But don't expect yourself to become an acrobat overnight if you've never even climbed up a ladder. This much more than your comfort zone. Then the comfort zone shifts. Then this much more than the comfort zone. It shifts this much more. But at least ensure whatever you intend, you do it. Good. Are you here tomorrow? Okay. So we'll take this as the last then. Yes.
Every word you say and the way you said it, for me, it was like, there are no words to describe how I feel. Now, you talked about being open heart. I agree with it. And yet, I'm asking myself, that's the way most of the religion leaders feel and live. How come there are thousands of miserable poor people on the streets? We are so open to them. How can I see that I'm putting money on something
Mhm.
or good-looking person with a tray with light, with the same amount of money to that poor man who's sitting over there and does not allow himself
Yes.
to enter, even to see. That's made me feel
So,
sad.
yeah, it's a beautiful and a really important point of if we're opening our hearts, and if there are so many people with open hearts, why are there still so many poor people in the world? And of course we can expand it. Why is there terrorism in the world? Why is there environmental destruction? Why is this happening? And the reason, simply as far as I can understand it from my experiences, we need more. The people who are moving through the world with real open hearts, I know, are doing as much as they can for the planet. I mean, for example, those of us here, we're 24/7. Don't take any money. We are 365 day a year on. And I know a lot of people who serve like that. They serve like that because to serve like that is to live. because they're moving through the world with hearts that are open. And you do as much as you can. And yet, the problems are massive. And this is why it's so important, here, for example, if you look at our service, I always say we serve on 2 levels. The word Paramarth literally means dedicated to the welfare of all. And we're dedicated on 2 levels. One is what you could call logistic management. So that's going to be food for people who don't have food to eat. Medical care for those who don't have it. School for those who can't afford it. Vocational training for those who can't afford it. Toilets for those who don't have them. Tree plantations, water cleanup, whatever it may be. Because of course that open heart isn't only to humans, it's to all of nature. So it's to rivers and trees and Mother Earth and Mother Nature. So that's one aspect of service. Those are the medical camps and the schools and the women's programs and the environment programs, etc. But on the other hand, we are suffering from a global epidemic of empty heart syndrome. The epidemic of hunger in the world, the tragedy of hunger in the world, is not only a hunger of the stomach. We also have that tragedy. About 1 billion people go to sleep hungry every night, physically hungry. Tens of thousands of children die of starvation every day. We also have a lot of people who are suffering from empty heart syndrome. And our commitment to serve them through spiritual programs, through yoga, through meditation, through satsang, through arti, through the pujas, through the temples, is for 2 reasons. Number 1, because we are deeply committed to helping everyone, as many people on earth as possible, see the truth of who they are, feel the love that is who they are, realize that they are full and whole and complete and divine, and for God's sakes, at least enough, and find that joy within them. But the second piece of that is when people know that and live like that, they actually become assets to the planet. We cannot single-handedly, with the resources that we have, put every child on earth who needs to be in school in school. With the resources we have, we cannot single-handedly give medical treatment to every single person on earth who needs it. But if you can heal the empty heart syndrome of those who are suffering from that, then what happens is, as people touch the joy and the peace of who they are, naturally what springs in that is the desire to serve. We only don't serve others when I'm so wrapped up in myself that I can't even begin to think about you. I'm only a detriment to the planet when I'm suffering from depression and misery and addiction and not enoughness. And so I need to have shopping therapy and eating therapy and drinking therapy and all of these things that are harming the planet. The minute that I realize I don't need a new leather handbag or a Big Mac to feel full. Well, A, my heart is healed, which means I have the possibility of actually fulfilling what I am here on planet Earth for. And B, miraculously, I start to become an asset to the planet. Because I no longer need trees to be cut down so that cows can be grazed who are about to become the hamburgers for me. I no longer need the rice and the corn and the soy that should go to feeding hungry people, to go to feed the cows and the pigs and the chickens who are simply going to end up as hamburgers and hot dogs and chicken McNuggets on my plate, because that's what I want to eat, because I live to eat rather than eat to live. See, it's a cycle. We actually grow enough grain on planet Earth to feed 10 billion people a day. There's only 7 plus something billion on the planet. The dilemma is that those who have the luxury to choose are choosing to eat in such a way that 1 billion people sleep hungry. So for us to try to run after those 1 billion people and feed them is certainly one way of solving the problem. But a much simpler way of solving the problem is to help the people who are engaging in hamburger therapy and chicken McNugget therapy for their depression and their misery and their boredom and their frustration and their need to numb themselves, so that those people can start to eat to live rather than living to eat. Such that the grain that's grown can actually go to feeding humans rather than feeding livestock. So it becomes this cycle, and you start to realize how deeply ingrained each of us is. Every time I walk into a store and I look at the cheapest item to buy, so I need new clothes, I'm feeling not so good about myself today. I'm bored. Maybe I got fired. Maybe there was somebody prettier than me at lunch and I don't feel so good about myself. Maybe my husband was looking at another woman, or whatever it may be, whatever drama in my life may have arisen that day. That I decide my therapy for that is to go shopping. And I walk into the shopping mall, to the department store. My eyes are fixed on how much can I buy as cheaply as possible. Well, that price tag is cheap because those clothes were produced by women and children working in sweatshops. Things don't come cheap unless they've exacted a cost on people I'm not seeing, or on the planet in a way I'm not seeing. Without sweatshops and child labor, say goodbye to cheap, cheap, cheap things. So every one of us is woven into this tapestry. And to simply take those who are living with hearts open and have us run around, trying to then fix it. We do the best we can. We're certainly happy to serve. It's what we do. But an actually much more effective way of healing that which ails our planet, which is why we are so equally committed to it. Equally committed to yoga programs, to satsang, to arti, to sharing videos online, to making sure that everything is free and easily accessible so that nobody has to subscribe to something online or buy a membership in order to have access to anything, is because our goal is that people should wake up. They should find that joy in themselves, that peace in themselves, that wholeness in themselves, so that they start to live as who they are, for them. And then the ripple impact of that is phenomenal on the planet. And that's why so many people these days are talking about the importance of changing the consciousness on the planet. There's too many poor people, too many homeless people, too many hungry people for us to solve it simply by trying to feed them. We have to change the system that has made them poor and homeless and hungry in the first place. But we can't do that without the engagement of those who are neither hungry nor poor nor homeless. And as long as we're suffering from empty heart syndrome, people aren't prepared to make choices for others. And so that's why the spiritual path, work, service, teachings are so important for us and for the whole ripple effect on the planet. When you meditate and you wake up, you have the opportunity to actually fulfill your purpose on earth. And you become an exquisite asset to this entire planet. Your every action, every decision, every word has a ripple impact of goodness. And that's what we're trying to achieve.